show that's 3 dimensions away from the Matrix being called the virtual world. I'm your host, 3D Jake, and today we're looking at The Matrix, released in 1999. The Matrix is a film that's directed by the Wachowskis and stars Keanu Reeves, Lawrence Fishburne, Carrie-Anne Moss, Hugo Weaving, and Joe Pantoliano. The movie is essentially about like a world, basically the world has been destroyed by machines, run over by machines, and basically the humans live underground in a futuristic dystopia. And so basically there is a digital world where basically is between our worlds, where basically the machines kind of rule both that and the digital world. And the digital world is kind of like an escapism of reality, where basically there are people that are still plugged into that reality. The machines basically have them as prisoners, and they're plugged into that reality where they believe this is like this is the real world and everything. And so basically their job is to basically try to they go inside this place called the Matrix to help get them out of the virtual world and bring them into the real world. And so most people that are over a certain age will probably just die in that world, while this one you're going to live. Some people, and the younger they are, they try to get them out. And so basically this guy who believes who doesn't like his life, has a hard life and everything, he starts seeing things are off, and then eventually they show him that he's in a fake reality, and then he goes into the real world, and then of course he sees how all this stuff, like he's supposed to be the one, and that there are agents that basically monitor this world to keep people like like Morpheus and Trinity out of this world. The movie, I really enjoy this movie. This movie, when I first saw it, was years ago, back in what was it, like 2002 or 2003, whatever. Like that was years ago. I saw this movie, and like I said, I remember like the second one was coming out, and I never saw the first one, and I just remember like it was on TV, and I watched it, and I just could not put it down. I kept watching it. Would come on AMC over and over and over and over and over again, and I would just watch it like 10 times a day. Because it would just come on and keep coming on AMC, and so finally my mother gracefully bought me the DVD, and I watched the DVD over and over again because I loved the movie so much because it was just so great. And then of course I watched it, and I owned this movie I owned it on DVD, I owned it on Blu-ray, now I own it on 4K, and I own it on digital. That's how much I love this movie. This movie is so good. I really like the idea that Will Smith was supposed to play the Neo. But then Will Smith's met with the Wachowskis, and they were pitching it to him about, oh, imagine you're getting hit with a 300-degree angle, imagine you're getting hit this way, and it's nothing but air, and just, he didn't understand it, so instead he did Wild Wild West. And so, yeah, but he regrets that decision. And then, of course, Keanu Reeves, who was, done Speed and Point Break and Bill and Ted, and Bram Stoker's Dracula, was look, that he needed to hit, so obviously he read the script and liked it, and he said, yeah, I'll do it, and he did it, and now, obviously, blew his career back up because wow, everyone knows him as Neo. He plays it so well. He actually has not a lot of lines in the movie, and yet he literally is a compelling protagonist. I really like the fact is that this movie plays I know people say oh, what's so great about this movie? The movie it's a story within the story in a way, where it's okay, you're in a fake digital world and you're trying to escape into the real world. Once you do, you have to learn how to process the fake world. So when you do go into the fake world, how you learn the simulations, you learn all this stuff. So when they go back into the third act of the movie, they go back into the digital world, and they're trying to find out by the Oracle, who basically is the prophet in that world, that will say if he's the one or not, because they need the one that's going to save us and bring the war of the machines to an end. And so they basically says you're not the one, and then basically, then of course you have one person who is betraying the whole entire group because he wants to go back into the real world. He wants to go back to the digital world because he hates the real world. Because we're basically slaves under here, and I just want to go back there because I want to be I want to be a rich and powerful person in a fake world, rather than having to deal with this piece of shit world that just eating like smudge and hiding from machines. And so basically he betrays them, and they take Morpheus. And I like that aspect. I like how they take Morpheus, and the Neo basically kills all the people there, and and there's a big conflict where it's and they're he says, hey, Neo has to be the one, right? Because I'm gonna kill him right now. And then of course Neo, and then basically one of the guys who he killed is still alive, and he shoots him and kills him. And I thought that was so great. And they have to go how they go back into the building, and they just he basically is like they go through the metal detector, and all of a sudden he goes and just have this great movie has great fight sequences, great action sequences. like the whole helicopter sequence, was cool. Where they're like going through the building and everything. And I like how the fight scene between Smith and him in the subway station. I also like the fight scene between Morpheus and Neo. And I will say I do like the soundtrack has a great Rob Zombie remix of Living Dracula is great. There's like, and then at the end how you have the Rage Against the Machines, just like oof. And then also I think that the subway sequence is really great between Smith and Neo. And then also it's really cool the sequence with like Morpheus saves Neo, but he just goes through like the wall and he fights Smith. And oh man, Smith he's a great villain. Played by Hugo Weaving. There's a creepy sequence at the beginning of the movie where like Trinity's trying to run from, and she jumps through there, and I like how it's like, what are these people and why are they after her? And then she's trying to escape them, and then of course they can just turn anyway because they're programs that will just turn into anybody. And Smith hates this world, and he wants to be free of this. He's tired of working for these agents. He wants to be free because he's a different thinker. He's an idealist who's like, I would do this world differently. I wouldn't run it this way. And he's a program that just has like he's a program has a mind of its own, and self-aware. And I like that aspect of it. Like you have a rogue program, and on top of that you have all these people that are that are just trying to free other people. And I think that's really cool about this world. It kind of makes you wonder, is everyone programs in this world, or is everyone in this world just like or is everyone in this world human beings that live in this world and they're not programs? I mean, it is pretty cool that they could just imagine you're just walking your groceries, all of a sudden you're just wake up and all of a sudden you were just an agent. You don't know why you're here. That's pretty cool. I mean, I like how the agent, and obviously there's the famous bullet time sequence with Neo where he dodges the bullets and everything, and how Trinity has the gun up to the guy agent's head and shoots him, and then of course he turns back into a SWAT officer. And Smith is like torturing Morpheus and telling him like how he hates this world and everything, and they're like, even the other agents are kind of like, what are you doing? It's great stuff like that is what makes it great. It has great cinematography, great action, especially at the end when he kills Smith, and just deletes him from the program. I mean, it's just so good. I mean, it has great character, model. It has great, and also just great storyline nonetheless. And I really enjoy the action. The only thing, if I had to say negatives, I will say that, I wish we would have got more Smith in the movie, because I feel like once we get Smith, and then of course I wish we would have got more of him, and I feel like and I wish they would have got more in the Matrix. I wish they would have went back into the Matrix after they freed Neo and showed him the Matrix more instead of just doing the simulation. But I understand, those are my only two gripes with the movie. I think it's a well-directed, well-actioned movie, and it's a fantastic movie that kept Warner Bros. Out of bankruptcy because this movie was a huge hit for them. If I had to give this movie a grade, I would give it an A+. Thank you so much.
Unfortunately, no one can be told what the Matrix is. You have to see it for yourself.